Hi, everybody. Hello. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so Velveeta, ActiveRecord. I mean, Velveeta is a processed cheese product, and ActiveRecord is an ORM. So, I mean, are they Ignite-worthy? Are they RailsConf-worthy? Are they deliciousness-worthy? I say yes. I stand before you and I make the bold claim that chips and queso is delicious. So why am I talking about it? Well, I think that both queso and Velveeta and ActiveRecord get a bad rap. I think that they're denigrated. And we need to come up with a rule set by which we can safely use them. And so the general rule for both Velveeta and ActiveRecord is that when you consume them, you shouldn't realize that you're consuming them. So if we follow this one rule, then a lot of other of our self-imposed laws become easier. So on the Velveeta side, the general rule for Velveeta is that you shall not eat it raw. So if you have this log of Velveeta, you shall not slice it, put it on a sandwich, and pretend to enjoy it. You shall not, under any circumstances, take a sliver of it, put it on top of a pear, and pretend that it's a salad. You guys, this is not okay. I don't even understand. This is slivers of Velveeta on a salad. No. So what about on the ActiveRecord side? On the ActiveRecord side of things, we shouldn't be touching ActiveRecord methods outside of the ActiveRecord class. You shouldn't know that you're consuming it. So you shouldn't have where clauses strewn all about your application. You shouldn't where you have to change it all over the place. You shouldn't use lifecycle callbacks. And so before create, I'm looking at you. And after create, I'm looking at you. I do have one exception to this. Looks like I'm going a little fast. And my one exception is I really like before validation as a lifecycle callback. I think that that's fine, and it sort of encapsulates your logic in there. But everything else, just don't do it. So observers, don't use those, and especially after create. So what should you use? Well, if you need to create 4 or 5 different objects and go out to Stripe or you go out to your mail server and do something, create a service flow object, a service workflow that's going to do your 4 or 5 different objects and go out and wrap it in an ActiveRecord transaction and then return the object when you're done. There are alternatives to what we're talking about here. And so data mapper exists, SQL exists, NoSQL exists, Gruyere exists, blue cheese exists. And they're all delicious, except for blue cheese. Like, if you like that, fine. I've never liked it. So what I want to tell you about NoSQL, though, because NoSQL can hurt. I had a project in the last year that I thought was going to be perfect for a Mongo project. And what happened, we were going to take a bunch of statistics, geolocate based on the user's location, group by certain things, and do some calculations or return a market price for it. And what happened is I couldn't afford the Cray supercomputer that it would take to actually run this thing. And I couldn't afford, in the budget, the array of grid computers to be able to map reduce and be able to go. So it would just churn, it would just churn, it would just churn. And we tried to pre-calculate everything, and then that would just steal all the hard drive space. It was just a disaster. And so this was me trying to be fancy. And so sometimes fancy can get you in trouble. Fancy is not always better. This happens in queso too, right? So with queso, if you try and make a fancy queso and you get all these fancy cheeses, it can just clump together and it can just fall apart. It happens. And so, I'm from Texas, and I say queso. You guys may be from elsewhere, which I guess is fine, and you may say things like chili con queso and cheese dip, but I say queso, and you're probably smarter than I am because queso. I went to Mexico on my honeymoon and ordered guacamole and queso, and I got back guacamole and a plate of diced cheese. And that wasn't that awesome. So what did we learn? So we learned that Velveeta is delicious, and ActiveRecord can be delicious, but just don't tell your entire app that you're using either. Thanks.